So the idea is that, yeah, active listening is also listening for key words, and if the person is speaking auditorily or visually or kinesthetically, or if they
Mm-hmm.
say yes, if they're representing things in all the visual, auditory, kinesthetic modalities, you want to be listening for that. You want to be listening for beliefs that are popping out and stumbling blocks that are coming out, and things that they may not be, automatically consciously aware of. Curious thing about speaking, and this is really true, and there's been a whole therapy field developed from this principle that I'm about to tell you, is that the part of your brain that creates language is a different part of your brain that listens to language.
Mm-hmm.
So if you repeat back to a person exactly what they have just said, you say that again, if you repeat back to the person exactly what they have just said, very often they will be hearing it for the first time, because they haven't heard it. When they said it, they weren't listening, they were speaking.
Mm-hmm.
They were creating the language. I had a
Mm-hmm.
very interesting client once. I had a gentleman who was a Russian diplomat or whatever. He came to my office in Manhattan with a simultaneous translator. This woman that came in, who was amazing. She was like a filter. She would hear his voice one ear and she'd just speak it in English out the other, and vice versa. She'd bring in the Russian, out would come English. She'd then listen to what I was saying, and out would come Russian. It was just astonishing. It was fluid. It was no delay at all. It was just amazing. And then somewhere around our third session, the gentleman got up and he had to go use the restroom. And so she said, "Would it be all right if I asked you a question for me?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, go right ahead." And so now she is trying to formulate her own thoughts into English. And
Yeah.
it was kind of a stumbling kind of presentation. She had to really work at finding the words. It was amazing to see, because it was everything else I'd ever heard her say was just instant flow, no problem.
Yeah.
And this was like really struggling to formulate the words. So that part of the brain that formulates the words is a different part of the brain than listens. So the second key that I think is really important is to then, from that listening, to be able to ask really targeted questions to get
Mm-hmm.
them to that same level of investigation, even though the just repeating back to exactly what they said might not do it, but asking questions that do help them dive deeper into their deeper meaning. So in the world of neurolinguistic programming, or NLP, we have this thing called the meta model.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with the meta model. Meta model is a very basic NLP principle.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally the first thing they developed in the field of NLP. John Grinder taught a class in it like in 1974 or something like that at the University of Santa Cruz, when Bandler and Grinder were first formulating NLP. They came up with this thing. He taught it to his linguistic students. He was a professor there. And so that was like literally the first thing. The Structure of Magic is the first NLP book.
Mm-hmm.
So meta model is asking pointed questions, or specific questions, to find out deleted or generalized or distorted information that the person hasn't specifically stated in their language. It's based on the idea that if I, for instance, went to the store, if I left here and traveled to the local grocery store and came back and did something, and I tried to explain that to you, to
Mm-hmm.
describe it in detail, I could perhaps write a 600-page novel, or a book that would describe every step I took along the way, and maybe it'd be pretty good. Maybe you'd have a pretty good visualization of what it was like, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But it would never really be sufficient, no matter what I did, for you to actually have the experience. That
Mm-hmm.
there's a difference between the representation and the experience. Words can never fully represent or represent the experience. So there's always, in every language, going to be distortions, deletions,
Mm-hmm.
and generalizations. So by asking these questions, like, well, what do you mean about that specifically? Or who was that specifically? How specifically did he go to the store? Did he run? Did
Yeah.
he walk? Did he ride? Did he drive? Did he drive fast? Did he take what route? How specifically did you do that? So you're asking for specifics about exactly what the person means.
Wasn't that absolutely fantastic? I'm sure that you found a lot of information in this very short video you just saw, maybe like 4 or 5, 6 minutes, however long it was. But that is not all. You can have access to the entire presentation of this amazing speaker, plus 40 more other presentations and speakers, and you can have access for life. You can have access to the video recording, to the audio recording, to the swipe files, to the transcripts, to all of the bonuses and the special gifts that all of the speakers and presenters and also the organizers are offering in the Premium Pass package. So if you like this, if you want more, make sure to sign up below for the Premium Pass and have lifetime access to everything. I'm sure it'll be one of the best investments you've ever made in your life, in yourself, in your practice, in your health, and also with working with clients. So go ahead, click on the button below, sign up for the Premium Pass, and we'll see you on the other side.